My God.
This is exciting. We have a full show and everybody was an invited guest. Blab is funny that way, right? It's
voluntold.
It's so casual, right? So, people just like slip on and slip off and, see what's going on. Anyway, for those of you who have tuned in, thank you so much. This is the Social Media Camp Blab, and I'm so excited because today not only do we have Sean and I, which is, it's cool.
Whatever.
But we have three speakers with us, renowned repeat speakers, Bosco Anthony, who you'll see up in your, I don't know, what does everyone else see, right? Top right corner?
Top right.
I always like to do the Brady Bunch sort of thing here.
It's going the wrong way.
And Angela Crocker, who will be joining us a little later in the show. Angela's come back after a few years. She had a bit of a social media camp hiatus. She was one of our best speakers a few years ago, and we're super excited to see what she has this year. And of course, one of this year's keynote speakers, Tara Hunt. So welcome to the show, you guys.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So Blabs are kind of informal, kind of cool. We're just chatting, just doing whatever. And we thought, okay, well, what's a topic, that's going to be interesting to people, that's relevant to everybody here? And I think actually, Sean and I included, everybody has used social media to reinvent ourselves at some point in our lives. And I think in the case of some of us, more than once. So why don't we start by going around the virtual table here and talk about how you've used social media to reinvent yourself, restart your career, I don't know, create, what they call personal brand around yourself. Who wants to go first?
Ladies first? Ladies first.
Oh, shut up.
Thank you.
I could go first if you want. I don't want to put you on the spot, Tara. So
very, very kind of you, Bosco. See, I guess for me, social is, I didn't really have a career or a life or anything before social. I don't remember what that was like. I think it was kind of lonely. And it was also, I didn't really know what to do with myself. I wandered around the marketing scene thinking this is all BS. More than anything, and thinking, why are we creating such a friction between companies and customers, and why aren't we connecting? And, this is stuff that I sort of mused to myself, and then for many years, and to people that would listen, and then blogging came along. And that gave me a platform to muse more broadly on. And so, that was, I had done social things before. I've been like online on communities since before there was a web browser. I'm dating myself a little bit. And I recognized at that point that, these connections that were being made were, there was all sorts of ways of creating business out of those connections. It wasn't my first intention. My first intention was to connect with people and make friends and learn and
be social.
Be social. Yeah, exactly. I know, shocking. And so that's what I did. And then, as the tools grew and as the population on the tools grew, and we had blogging first, and then things like Facebook came along, and YouTube, and MySpace was sort of there too. But I felt I was too old for MySpace. I didn't really get it.
I have a profile.
So much. Yeah, do you still?
I got on late when everybody had already left, just to see what it was like. Yeah.
I think it was better when
I think so. Yeah, it got really great.
Paul was on it when it was just space.
It was just me.
Did you guys ever use High Five way back in the day?
I had an account there too.
Yeah, and then and how many of you use ICQ chat? Because in Africa that was the big thing: MSN Messenger and ICQ chat. Yeah.
You know what, Bosco? I made my biggest sale ever over MSN Messenger.
Wow.
Yeah. So there you go.
We're relics.
Great. Yeah. Great. But yeah, like, so for me, it was less about reinventing myself and more about like finally finding my tribe, finding my home, and finding a place where my voice was actually relevant at all. So that's where social really came into play with for me, and it's continued to be that for me, is finding my tribe and my people, and having a place where my voice actually is relevant and continues to be semi-relevant from time to time. It's not been as relevant as other times, but I'm hoping I feel like I'm doing a resurgence now that we're realizing that a lot of social has been lost in the business marketing shuffle. So
if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be hanging wallpaper. My wife saw that video. Guess what I'm doing?
That's hilarious. Well, I don't know if I should say, I'm like, should I apologize for that?
Only to me.
Your life will be better for it, Sean.
Sure.
Yeah, I haven't. For those of you that I don't know that are watching this, I happen to have one of the most popular videos on hanging self-pasted wallpaper.
That's awesome.
Okay, I didn't know that. I'm gonna go watch it after the show, though.
That is, you didn't read the blog post I did.
I have an extremely unpopular Disney song parody, but sorry, no inside jokes. No inside jokes. All right, enough. That's just my secret way of trying to get over 1,500 views. Anyway, well, that's so. So could you point to a particular moment or a particular aha kind of like, wow, this is it. This is the moment that, is going to redefine the rest of my life? Or did it just kind of unfold, over a period of time, and kind of in retrospect, you realized, you did some good things?
Actually, the moment where I realized this was bigger than just like something that I love to do and connecting with a bunch of people was I was in a hotel room. I can't even remember where I was in a hotel room, and I flipped on CNN, and a reporter named Rick Sanchez was on there, and he was talking about Twitter. And he was not only talking about Twitter, but he was streaming his followers and his tweets into the newscast. Must have been like 2007 or 2000, maybe late 2007, early 2008. And people were asking him questions live on air. And now it's commonplace. It's something that we see all the time. But at the time I was like, holy crap, this is bigger than, like, this is everything I always wanted it to be. And then, at the same time, like, do I really want it to go in that direction after all? Because we'd been fighting for some sort of validation with social for such a long time that when that happened, when we started to see the mainstreaming of it, you celebrated, and then you went, oh, wait a minute, like, maybe this isn't everything we were hoping it would
It's
be.
interesting, your experience, and I think Sean and probably Bosco, and I know definitely Angela would relate to a similar experience. We're all kind of, I think, fairly close in age. We're all maybe of the same generation. But for me, my first experience, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I'm on the cusp of being a millennial.
Yeah. All right, you can sign out anytime.
Yeah, you can leave. Exit that way.
But what I was going to say was,
youngsters, I'm pushing 50.
when I was like 14, 15, which was the mid 80s, I started BBSs. You guys remember that, where people would dial up on modems and stuff, and it was just like, whoa, communications technology is amazing, right?
I was born in '82, so I think I felt that. I felt that in spirit.
All right, I'll leave you out of this part of the conversation. Anyway, but then we got on the internet before it was the World Wide Web, and so much cool stuff was happening with Usenet groups, and I used to use Telnet to like play multi-dimensional games and stuff with people, and the people you'd play these D&D style games with were like executives at Xerox, and people like movers and shakers. It was weird, right? But it was so exciting. And then the World Wide Web came along, and I thought, wow, this is so neat. What a cool technology. You link this, you link that. And then I was like, yeah, but like the social piece it's gone. It's not here. This is just about interlinking pages. And then I kind of got unexcited about it. Actually, after installing my first browser, probably like 3 days later, I deleted it because I'm like, this is boring. Like, I consumed everything Yahoo had. And I think, that museum in Paris, the Louvre, had a bunch of little tiny photos, back then, right? And that was it. And I was like, okay, I've seen the World Wide Web now. I'm done. Obviously, I was dead wrong, but and it really caught on in a big way. But the negative side for me was it just became the marketer's paradise, and it was unidirectional, and that whole social and interactive piece was lost until, and for me, Tara, the day was that I got on Twitter, and I saw the social interactions happening, and my eyes just grew, and I was like, wow, this is it. Like, this is what the internet can be, right? And I actually then remembered what it was like before we got into web pages and HTML and all the boring stuff, right? So that was my aha moment and why I jumped on social media and got excited about it and basically reinvented my career with it. So anyway, that's my story. Sean, Bosco?
I guess I'll go next. I was born in Tanzania, East Africa. So whatever you guys had, we experienced it 2 years later, as most people know.
Right.
So my experience with, I was a gamer. I used to play Wolfenstein 3D and Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, and then that turned into social hacking, basically. So I used to hack into things and create worms, and then my parents decided to send me to a Microsoft school because they felt that I should do something with my life. But the defining moment for me actually came sadly through the Rwanda and Burundi genocide attacks that were neighboring our countries, as well as the American embassy. I was watching CNN one day, and I remember everything just blacked out, and the internet, the dial-up, everything just went haywire, and there was this sort of sense of, oh my God, what's going on? And my sister was watching the news, and I remember asking her, I said, is this a movie? We had just watched Towering Inferno the night before, and then all of a sudden you see the tower. And so there was a sense of panic and fear living in a developing country. So that evening, we basically started talking about it on the Messenger forums and ICQ and MSN Messenger. And it was the first time I actually felt a sense of comfort from the people online, just because everybody had different opinions and thought processes and conspiracy theories. And it was really a way to sort of validate my experience living in a developing country with a lot of fear. So that was my first sort of experience with social. And then when I moved to Canada, obviously I worked in a corporate world and then worked for an online marketing firm and started traveling and everything else. And social media started to just start gaining traction. Twitter was my first experience as well. And then shortly after, Facebook and everything else was sort of the elements that opened up for me. Now, for me, I didn't really think MySpace was a social thing because I thought MySpace was a cool thing. You either had it or you didn't have it. It was sort of an identity for you. And then as time went along, you start to realize that, social media is like teenage sex. People want to do it and not many people know how. And the people that do end up getting the job. So that's really how I fell into it, was really into just, seeking counsel and advising and working with other people and brands. And because I came from a corporate sector, there's all these rules when it comes to corporations. They have all these planning for things and templates and editorial calendars and all that stuff that just doesn't make sense. And the beauty about social is it's unscripted, it's raw, and it's really not planned for. And I think that's really where my strengths really kicked in, was utilizing storytelling and really dumping it into the social entity. And yeah, that's it. Here we are now.
Well, I think your story might be more interesting than my story, Bosco. I'll forgive you for being on the cusp of Gen X and millennial.
You grew up pretty quickly living in a developing country, that's for sure.
I bet. Wow. Yeah. Well, I remember when the whole Rwanda thing was happening. That was scary, just like watching from Canada. I can't imagine how scary that would be, watching that happen from a neighboring country. So,
well, yeah. I mean, today I just think, what would happen if there was more what would happen if social actually existed during those times? I mean, look at the Arab Spring and the outlet that came from it. But when you think about things that happened before social media, there wasn't enough coverage, there wasn't enough awareness, and these innocent lives were just being taken for whatever reasons. And unfortunately, there wasn't really a voice back then.
I don't know. I'm looking at what's happening with the campaigns down south of us right now, and I'm feeling like no matter what tools we have, people are still people, and we continue to make the same mistakes. And I don't want to be a bummer on this conversation, though, but
it's not hard to miss the exit when you're on social.
Yeah. Well, the thing about technology generally is, we forget technology is a tool for people, and that includes good people or people doing good and people doing bad, right? When the telephone was invented, it became a great way of threatening people and a great way of bothering them during their dinner hour. all the other complaints that came with the telephone, right? But it also connected the world, and I think we could get bogged down on the dark side of social, or we could be proactive like Sean's doing and try to educate people. And I know you guys we're all sort of doing some education as well, so I'm not specifically to Sean, but for me, it's like there's such potential for greatness with this tool, and it is kind of sad when you see it's being used for spreading misinformation or half truths. It's become so easy now, and I did it myself the other day. It's become so easy. You read the headline, you comment on it, you didn't actually read the article, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
And so it's.
TLDR is the worst ever.
So I think we're all capable of of making bad decisions, and we're all capable of being bad people, right?
I mean, when you're taking a look at the growth of the internet and the growth of social, I was developing websites in the days where we were still hand coding HTML back in the late 80s.
Now you really dated yourself.
Late 90s.
Late 80s.
Late 80s.
You were doing HTML in the 80s? Oh my God.
I was that good. And I was trying to convince, because I was working for the Army at the time, and we've all been there where we're trying to explain something that is brand new to everybody, to a group of people that are really not getting it. And I said, we need to capture the CanadianArmy.com URL. And they said,
"You're crazy.
No, we don't need that because we're the government. We have gc.ca and we don't need all of that .com stuff." And it's like, well, CanadianArmy.com is currently owned by a porn site. Maybe from a marketing angle, we might want to stop that. And Canadian Army, Canadian Navy, and Canadian Air Force were all owned by, and not just any porn site, by an animal porn site. And I mean, it's just the most disgusting stuff.
Oh, wow.
That was my real moment of understanding that the power of the internet was something to really capture, because we're getting a lot of people going, this isn't right. Johnny shouldn't be here, when looking up Dad and what his job is. The really defining moment for me, as far as global connectivity, was the day I retired from the Army, which was September the 11th, 2001.
Wow.
And that was my last day in the Army, and I was managing the internet and intranet for the Canadian Army in Western Canada.
Crazy. And
it was a 17-hour day for me. I was literally throwing on clothes and driving while tying my boots to the base. And the next day I was out. And suddenly everybody was like, where's this? Where's that? Where's the other thing? Where's my news? Where's my feed? Where's this? Where's that? And that's the realization that, okay, this is much, much bigger than I think anybody really understood, because the news was flowing much faster. My reinvention So didn't really come until Social Media Camp 2013.
Wow.
When Mari Smith said to me, "You're not a social media consultant." And then all the air got sucked out of the room. It's like, "You suck at your job." Ah, thanks. She says, "You're a coach. You like to teach people. You don't want to go in, and you need to show people, educate people. You need a different level of social interaction than what the rest of the industry is currently doing." So I did that. Now I'm in the next phase where I'm no longer coaching and teaching adults. I'm coaching and teaching kids. We're much more receptive than adults often are, because they don't have those preconceived notions about how everything works. They know everything, don't get me wrong.
I thought teenagers were worse for that.
No,
They know everything by 14?
They know everything by 14, but they don't come in with those preconceived notions of, you only want to do this because it's money, or you only want to do this because you have an ulterior motive or a different agenda. They are drawn to people who are both engaging and knowledgeable, and it's just a unique place to be, because there's very little of a wall that goes up when you're talking with them for the first time. They don't kind of look at you like, "All right, I'm doing this because I have to." The program that we have is all because of the stuff that they want to do, which is great.
Well, and to add to that, I think, in my opinion, I think labels and titles is what kills creativity. I think it's a safety net for many people, and for me, just because you're a CEO or marketing or a brand manager doesn't mean that you are confined to that particular level of creativity. I think creativity comes from the front lines. I think creativity comes from the people that actually talk to your clients or your products. I think creativity comes from every part of the organization. If people hire me and they say, "Oh, what's your title?" I'll usually say I'm the rebel in this organization, because I'm there to stir shit up. And I think that that's really what we all need to look at when we look at organizations today, because when it comes to social creativity, storytelling, authenticity, it doesn't really, it's not defined by a corporate boardroom or a meeting that happens once a year so that we can plan an entire marketing calendar for 12 months, because it doesn't work. It really doesn't work.
The necessity to reinvent yourself in a space and not just apply everything you're always doing in every other place to that place. I think that's where newspapers are getting the worst of the deal, is they're not reinventing themselves. They're simply trying to apply the same concept to a different medium. They're not reinventing themselves to doing something different and then applying a different concept.
Well, you don't win the game by trying to change the playing field, right? I think that's been the way, established media has done it for a long time, right? And they're starting to realize, I think, that they can't change the playing field. They're going to have to play by the rules.
Or adapt.
And some of them are really figuring it out, and a lot of them aren't. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a sort of sense of evolution as well in any brand or industry you're in, where you have to sort of adapt to the times and sort of try new things. It would be great if brands actually today spent once a week just on creativity and seeing what people are doing out there and actually trying to emulate that, or finding their voice from other people as well, because the collaborative tools are now at a plethora and so much easier to communicate, but we still seem to apply the 70s version of communication in so many ways.
So, sorry.
Steve Dotto's a great example. I mean, here's a guy who had 20 years worth of broadcast experience and knew video and knew how to create great content, but it was the engagement side that he hadn't been really used to. And once he started into the social space full on and started developing his YouTube stuff, he wasn't really sure about how to do the engagement, to do the marketing, to do all the things. Once he started connecting with people that really did understand it, the game changed for him. Man's got his silver YouTube button now. It arrived yesterday.
Yeah.
So here it is, 100,000 subscribers.
I told him he needs to build like a WWF style belt and wear it to social media camp this year with the big silver YouTube button in the middle. I'd be happy to be like the announcer,
Knowing Steve, he's probably stitched in his underwear right now too.
Let's get ready to Dodo.
Can I quote you on that at social media camp, Bosco?
You absolutely can. I've got some surprises for Steve and Sean this year.
Oh, awesome! I can't wait. Awesome. So why don't we switch gears a little bit, and because we want to get Angela in on the call. I don't know if either Bosco or Tara, if both of you guys can stay, I'll just kick Sean off the call. But if either of you have to go, I know Tara, you had a busy morning, and it's afternoon now where you are. But why don't you tell us a little bit about what your plans are for your talk at Social Media Camp in May?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, so the title of my talk, something about like the non-BS way to actually create word of mouth. It sounded really awesome when I typed it out. But it's, it actually is really it's bringing us back to the core idea behind what social is all about, and that is communities, right? Is finding communities of interest, joining communities, building relationships within communities. And it's from an insight that I just recently had, even though I've been part of online communities forever. The big piece of it that I didn't really see, because I think maybe it's like a fish can't see water, is that communities of density, that is communities like ours that spend a lot of time interacting and supporting one another and helping one another grow and working together towards like a common purpose, are amazing word of mouth multipliers. There's a couple of different ways, and I don't want to give my whole talk away because I want to surprise people on some level. But there are a couple of different ways to enter in, listen to, become part of those communities that already exist. But if they don't exist, there's, really great examples out there of people who, hi, Poppy, of people who have actually created density within communities. So I'm thinking about Jeremiah Owyang with Crowd Companies, for instance, how he saw all this activity happen and all these people doing these interesting things around crowdsourcing or the sharing economy, that sort of thing. And what he did, and he actually once credited me for a quote that I credit somebody else for, took the idea that if you see a parade, get in front of it. I got that from Tim O'Reilly, who told me that at one point, and I wrote a post on it, which I guess Jeremiah read, and then he now is applying it to Crowd Companies. So he saw this parade. It was all over the place, and he was able to bring it together under Crowd Companies and create like a really strong brand from it and grow his business out of it. So there's like a couple of different ways to tap into density and community. And I don't want to make it sound like, oh, we're going to just like go in and take advantage of this community goodwill, because there's more to it than that, and that doesn't work. But there's a basic rule of thumb that I always follow now is the higher the density of the community, the stronger and further the word of mouth will spread. And, because 4 of us sitting here, there's people watching, we're going to be gathering together around the social media camp. We spend time on Facebook together. We're hanging out in all of these places, and we're exchanging ideas and asking each other questions and asking for recommendations on everything from where we should eat to which new-fangled gadget we should buy. And that is really, really powerful, because word of mouth, as we all know, is the most powerful form of marketing. It will never cease to be the most powerful form of marketing. And if you can find a way to actually organically tap into that and organically grow that in a really positive way, then, I mean, especially for small businesses who can think in those terms, it can be really powerful. So that's what I'm going to be talking about, is what that is, what communities of density are, how they work, what factors form density, and then how to actually form it, how to actually tap into it.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And Bosco, do you want to tell us a little bit about your talk too?
Sure. I mean,
Bosco, by the way, Bosco always brings like a tribe of people with him. What are they, fans, or it's like a fan club?
Something like that, I
Well,
guess.
it's not a militia.
I almost fell out of my chair. Sorry,
Well,
go
I mean,
ahead, Bosco.
May is a crazy month for me. As you guys know, yesterday I announced that I'm speaking for TEDx. So
I saw it. Congratulations.
it's been a roller coaster.
They
ride.
won't take me.
In a very good way. You've got to put your clothes on if you want to go.
Oh,
just so you know.
I'll try that next time.
Anyways, my topic is on adaptive content, and specifically micro content, as well as some of the visual case studies of some of our campaigns. I'm one of the lead strategists for the Ugly Christmas Sweater Party, and I showcased their campaign last year. So this year we're going to talk a little bit about how we basically use visual content to really get a lot of traction. We're going to talk a little bit about social funnels, social segmentation, a little bit about the way we adapt our content and purpose it in different platforms, and also just talking about attention spans and demographic of audiences and profiles as well. So,
Or the lack thereof.
Or the lack thereof, yeah. So as everybody knows, my talks typically have 30% visual, 30% content, and then 30% of a whole lot of rebellious stuff that ends up being retweeted on Twitter. So, it's going to be fun, and I really spend about 40 hours putting the content and then revising the content, and then the night before social media camp just changed the entire slide. So I think it's the life of every speaker, right? I mean,
That's what we all do.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we have a guideline, and then basically after we have that guideline, something happens on Twitter or Facebook that basically contradicts 75% of what you have on your PowerPoint, which is why now when it comes to slide decks, I typically do it the night before because it's fresh and clean. But if there's anything, we should definitely do a documentary on the life of a speaker before they get to social media camp, and what it takes to plan, for your talk, because I think there's a lot of fun that goes with it. And last year I remember having coffee with Steve, and he said, "I hate talking to you, Bosco, because every time I talk to you, there's something new that contradicts my slide decks." And two hours later, he was changing some of the slide decks. So we usually do that, have coffee, and we talk about how grand life is.
I've got a talk coming up in April at the BC Vet Techs Association conference. Do you realize how hard it is to get through a slide deck and then go to Facebook and find yet another great animal story? There's another great cat picture I can use. There's another great dog picture I can use. I had a great video all set up, and then next day there's this video of vet techs trying to control a bull mastiff. Here's this poor vet tech riding a dog out. I was like, well, there goes that slide.
That's funny. In my other life as an IT expert, I work with a local company here called Smart Dolphins, and we met with a veterinary clinic about their IT services. And I think I was there like 30, 40 minutes before they're like, "So are we going to stop talking about cats now?" And
Tara, you're going to ask me something.
Right.
Yeah, go, Tara.
Oh, I was just going to say to Bosco, I've spoken at a few conferences recently that asked me to send them my decks like a month ahead of time.
I was
like, "Are you kidding? I haven't even started the deck a month ahead of time. What are you talking about? Like, if you want an up to the minute presentation, there's no way that I'm going to create a deck that far out in advance. Don't you know that things change in the world so fast that I should be creating my deck 5 days ahead?"
You have the ultimate story.
I usually send something in Swahili, so I speak a second language, right? So all of a sudden I don't speak English,
That works.
and that works all the time, really.
You guys remember when Bosco and Sean? You might remember when Chris Brogan came, and his topic at Social Media Camp was Google Plus. He'd just written the book and everything else, and by the time he arrived at the conference, he had mostly written off Google Plus, and so he showed his slide deck. He's like, "All right, so I'm supposed to talk about Google Plus today. Here's my slide deck. All right, let's talk about something else."
and then we were exposed to the world of this thing called email marketing.
Anyway, if you ever get Chris,
email marketing, like
fantastic speaker. If you ever get him to speak,
with everything's old that's new again.
Yeah.
If you ever get Chris Brogan to speak at your conference, make sure you put him at the front and not the back, because most people loved his talk, except for the people that were there specifically to learn about Google Plus, and skipped the session the day before on Google Plus because Chris Brogan was going to be talking about it.
I think the only thing that was great about Google Plus was the Hangouts on Air, because it just
that was great.
Onto SEO, and Sean, you and I did that when we interviewed. But other than that,
was a lot of fun.
It was basically Google Plus is kind of like The Walking Dead. It's just trying to reinvent itself, and there's walkers everywhere.
Yeah, because there's so many people on it, but they're not on it. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. They're on it because they're connected to their Gmail account, checking their email, basically.
Well, and it's the only way you can comment on YouTube, right?
Well, I think they just hired someone to actually improve the user journey. I was reading that the other day where Google made this big hire, and apparently...
Now they hire somebody to improve.
I think so.
Yeah, they discovered this thing recently. They heard about it. It was kind of under the wire. Nobody really noticed it, called influencer marketing.
Crazy.
They should get the influencers in.
Buy Blab, I think that's what they should do.
Probably. Yeah. So guys, this is the moment.
One of us have to leave.
We're gonna vote somebody off the island, unless one of you have to go.
Bye, Sean.
You know what? I'm going to go because, let's face it, I live on the island.
It could be me.
No, you're far too pretty for this. I'll just go back to my slave work.
All right, let's give Sean some more claps for...
Sean, you can leave the dogs. You can leave the dogs.
I can leave it. Freya, you're on. I will still be here watching and probably pop back in at the last minute just to say
goodbye. Okay, bye, Sean. I'm pressing the X.
Bye.
All right, Angela, there's your seat.
Yay.
Now we'll see if it works.
I won't be the token female anymore.
Yay.
She's popping up.
Uh-oh.
It's coming.
Oh, there you are. Hi.
Hey.
Hello, good morning. Or good afternoon from Ontario.
Or afternoon, Tara. How are you?
Doing good. Yourself?
I'm grand. This is fun. My first Blab. Who knew?
So, just as by way of introduction, Angela, several years ago, wrote a book called Social Media Networks for how to build a social media network for dummies.
It was a complete idiot's guide to building.
Complete idiot's guide. Yeah.
It was about building an online community.
Sometimes I'm a dummy. Sometimes I'm a complete idiot. Anyway.
It's all good, Paul.
People just keep writing me books. Anyway, so welcome. And I know,
thank you,
Angela, you've got a really unique story because you've engaged in social media and it's been an interesting path for you. So why don't you take a couple minutes and tell the audience your story? Yeah.
Well, my story started at Simon Fraser University. I have a degree in communications. And at the time, SFU's communications department was the only one of two schools in Canada that you either went there or you went to Carleton. Those were your options. And both my parents are charter students from SFU. So obviously I chose the West Coast School. And the communications undergrads were actually among the very first to get email access. And so we were using these tools, Elm and then Pine, or maybe it was Pine and then Elm. Some of us, I think, are old enough that we could remember, push J to scroll up and K to scroll down. It was that kind of communication. And I was keenly interested in, how people communicate and, went through a lot of nonprofit jobs and was just always using whatever tools were out there. I started doing something with my husband. We were actually hard coding what would now be called a blog in the late 90s. We did that for years. It was just for family and friends and photos and family stories. And then around 2007, when I joined Facebook, that old website, it's still out there, but it hasn't been updated since Facebook came along. And I dabble in and out of different tools, depending what I'm working on. I'm highly curious. I'm always exploring a new tool. The book that Paul mentioned, The Complete Idiot's Guide to Creating a Social Network, the opportunity to write that came from one of my clients, who I think is a former social media camp speaker, George Plumley. George is a great WordPress guru here on the West Coast, and he was asked to write the book. And he said, no, everything I know about building social networks, I learned from Angela. So she's the girl for that. So the book came about. That came with speaking opportunities. I ended up teaching. I think the year the book came out, I did 72 social media presentations all around the West Coast, and traveled a crazy amount. And at the time, I had a 3-year-old. Like, what was I thinking? I don't know. And then more recently, jobs come and go, contracts come and go, and I got deeply involved in another arts organization, which I tend to swoop into that vortex, and was sort of stepped back from my own social media work for a while. And during that time, I undertook what I've been calling a digital cleanse, just really looking at how I use social tools, which ones actually matter, what conversations are genuine. I was tired of being marketed to. I'd like to build relationships and get to know people. And so that's sort of been part of, I've simplified in a sense the social tools that I'm using, and still have Twitter and Facebook and a gazillion accounts, but now I have a Blab account. Good grief! But I am sort of using those tools. That's okay, Paul. I forgive you.
Regret it.
No, I'm loving this. This is grand. And so now here I am. It's 2016. I'm consolidating all of my work under the umbrella of me. It's not that I have a consulting firm and my own social media presence. I realize that we're all one individual, and everything that you do, no matter where you do it, is you are one person. You can't compartmentalize yourself completely. And so now I do everything under the umbrella of AngelaCrocker.com. I do some consulting. I do some teaching. I'm writing a new book for Self-Counsel Press called The Content Planner, so I'm excited to share that. And, each and every day, I look at what I'm doing on social media, and I try and be smart about it. And if I need to deal with some family stuff, I will. I'm of that sandwich generation. I have an elementary school age child, and I have a lot of elder care responsibilities. And so that too is kind of strange to, going into care homes to visit my Nana. There is no internet there. They don't understand smartphones. They don't get that. Oh, I'm just going to check my text messages. That's foreign to people who are 80 plus, for the most part. And so, here I am back in this wonderful community of Social Media Camp, and I've missed you guys. It's been awesome.
Cool. Whoops. We're super excited to have you back. And I know we had the chance to hang out down by the cruise ship terminal.
That was awesome.
Summer. That was a lot of fun. And I didn't realize, but our kids are pretty much the exact same age.
Yep.
And they're both into Minecraft.
Oh, God.
Sorry about that too.
That's okay. If it's not Minecraft, it's Roblox, one or the other.
Roblox.
Anyway, so so I guess the next question then for everybody is if you were to give advice to some of the people that are out there on how to use social media to help redefine themselves, be it in their career or just, I guess the key thing is using social media to have a better life as opposed to being dragged down by social media. And we hear that complaint a lot where, people are, they're tired of what they see on Facebook, yet they still go every day and check it. And it drives them crazy, and people are complaining and whining, and so I guess the question then is would you have sort of tidbits of advice for people that are trying to do that?
Listen,
Bosco.
listen.
I'm going to.
Oh, sorry, Tara. I didn't see your lips moving. Why don't we start with Tara?
Yeah.
So it's actually, I'm funny enough. I'm teaching a class at the Monk School of Journalism here in Toronto right now, and it's called branding your beat. And I really hate the term. We were just chatting about it in the little live chat. I hate the term branding, and I told them that from the beginning, even though I named the course at the end of the day, because it was just really descriptive. But yeah, like that's what I'm teaching my students is really like how to. Their journalism, like they're young journalists, and they are needing to build their presence online, right? It's a reality for the future for everybody that, you know, what you're doing, Angela, is exactly what everybody should be doing. Is not like sort of separating this, like there's me as a personal person, and then there's this like professional entity over there. So that's what I'm teaching them, and that's the first thing I'm really honing in on is like it's mostly about listening and understanding and like finding your tribe, finding that dense community where you can feel like you belong, like, you know, finding your Cheers bar. No, that's dating me. You know, finding that place where everybody knows your name. You go and you like. You belong and you can be part of it, and you learn so much from listening, right? So many people come to social thinking like, oh, what am I going to say? Well, it's not about what you're going to say. It's what are you going to learn? What are you going to listen to? What, you know, when it comes time for you to be able to actually contribute in a positive way, yeah, that's when you say something and it'll be pretty obvious to you at that point. So don't come in there like thinking, oh, I need a content plan. You know, come into social thinking, I need to find my tribe. I need to find who I'm going to be listening to and building relationships with. And that would be my advice.
And Angela, you want to, I know you've sort of touched on a lot of it, but any
Sure.
other insights? Or?
Well, I would just add to what Tara's saying. I agree absolutely about the listening piece. I love the title of a course that Suzanne Norman's developed at SFU here in Vancouver, and it's called The Publication of Self in Everyday Life. And really, we're doing that all the time. Every Instagram post, every public tweet, everything that happens, you're curating this archive about yourself and what's going on. And so I think if you publish those items consciously, you can reinvent yourself any way you like. You know, I talk sometimes when I give presentations about the 3 Ps and about dividing yourself into, or thinking about yourself in 3 ways. You have a private self that never goes online. Nobody wants to hear about your hemorrhoids or your tax problems. Then you have a personal self where you're going to know that, and it's too bad Sean had to leave the call so I could come on, but Sean and I have actually connected through Star Wars. We love Star Wars and different ways, but you know, that's a very personal interest that we each share. I also, you know, I doodle with fine art supplies. I have a absolutely ridiculous addiction to bookstores. There's like so many books in my house I haven't read yet. I collect Jane Austen related novels, all these books coming to the public domain. There's Mr. Darcy is in the title of like 75 novels right now. So those are all personal. And then the last one is professional. You have to really, you know, talk about, okay, well, what are you offering the world? You know, what can you offer advice on? How can you be helpful? And that's always my goal, is to share information that's helpful to people, that's actually going to be something they can take away. And rather than a pitch or a marketing ploy to get you to buy the next thing, like, yeah, sure, you might buy a book I've written. That's wonderful. I'd love it if you would. But that's not why I'm going to share knowledge with you in a social media setting. So I hope everyone would take the time to sort of curate their own content that they share about themselves in the context of those 3 Ps.
Well, and let me throw a question to you, because this came up years ago and it kind of went away, and now it's coming back. Is, you know, this concept of oversharing, and by oversharing I don't mean about hemorrhoids and tax issues. What I mean is, are you giving away the farm? Are you providing too much content? Are you giving too much for free? And I think in a world, and I think it's a valid question, because we live in a world where a lot of people just don't want to pay for a lot of things, right? If you can just get the info for free and do it yourself, you know, and I think it's like back when several years ago now, but back when I was thinking about the social media consultant thing, I had a few, you know, call them consultations, where I'd meet with people, and I met with them under the auspices the same way I did in my web design business, which was, I'll meet with you, we'll have a little consultation, we'll talk about what it looks like, and then we'll be done. And what I found happened a lot was that they just had a bunch of questions, and then they'd ask me them, and then they were good. And so I was
my experience was the same.
Yeah, and so how do you build a business where you're just constantly meeting people for free? They're taking what they need, and then, you know, and so, and you know, I think the answer to that now is you just don't meet with people for free. if what you have to offer is your knowledge, you know, you just don't do that, right? But you hold back. And I guess since all you guys are speakers, this is really a good question. I mean, you want to give away good content so people, you know, appreciate your talk and they know it all. But you know, at the end of the day, we all have to make money. And so do you hold back some info? Is there you know, like, how do you do that? So I don't know, Bosco, you got an idea, brother?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you know, to echo what the other speakers were saying is, you know, most people, when it comes to social, I read a Peter Drucker quote that really resonated. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand; they listen with the intent to reply. And when it comes to social media, you really have to understand your audience. It really comes down to really understanding who is your customer and who's a fan and who's just there to have a conversation with you. And that falls into segmenting your crowd. You know, I don't believe that every conversation you have is a sales conversation. I don't believe that every post you put out there is targeted just for, you know, one set of crowd and that crowd only. I think there's a level of authenticity that then builds some level of trust and credibility. And I think when you have that and you have that emotion, you know, just because Sean might not be a client of mine, he might have a client that might work for me, or he might know someone that might need my help. I mean, a lot of our business today and a lot of the corporate entities come from believe it or not, referral marketing. And it really comes down from what impact you're having. Your vibe is your tribe in many ways, right? So if you really do well on establishing your character and people trust you, you don't really have to worry about a sales process. It just comes organically. Just my thoughts.
I would say, like, there's three things just to follow up on what Bosco just said. You know, giving away things for free. I mean, that's been my thing for many, many years, and I do have a lot of those conversations where I sit down. And you know, I've gotten really good at knowing, like, when I sit down with somebody within the first 5 minutes, okay, this person's never going to buy from me. So I'm giving them something, and I'm going to just count that as like a deposit in, you guys remember this word, woofie bank from my old book from 2009. You know, it's like that deposit, that social capital deposit, and I'm creating goodwill. And like Bosco said, that person is, you know, going to remember that and have good, warm, fuzzy feelings about me. And so next time they hear somebody go, oh, I can't figure out this stuff, I don't know who to talk to, they'll refer me. And that is very powerful. But, you know, number two, I also think, like, the stuff that you can give away in a blog post or on Twitter or in a sit-down coffee for an hour, if that's so valuable, what kind of career are we in, right? Like, if what we're giving away, those simple things we're giving away is like what we do, then we've invested in the wrong business, I think, because I think it's a lot more complicated than people give it credit for. You know, they see, like, the front end, the user interface, the tweets at the end of the day, or the Facebook posts or the YouTube video, and they're like, yeah, that's easy. I can do that. I can just whip that up. But anybody that sits down and tries to build an audience with just following a formula or just like following that simple advice will know that it's a lot harder than that. There's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot of mechanics that go into that. So, you know, one of the things that I do is, like, when I sit down with somebody who is like a sort of a pre-qualified client, I will sit down and go through it. I have a process now that I sit down and go through, because I want them to see, like, the sausage factory, right? It's not just telling them how the sausage is made, but showing them the sausage factory. And I go through all the kind of research that I do and all the social listening that I do. And these are the streams, and this is like all the things that you need to do to put together like one tweet or one video or one piece of content to even get started. And you're going to pay, if you want to hire me, you're going to pay me for all that stuff up front because you're going to have to do it yourself anyway. So, that really helps with building it. And I find like, potential clients that really want to sign on, they love the process and they love to see the sausage factory.
Now I want to go eat some sausages, but people don't buy your product or service; they buy you. That's the one game-changing advice that I've had from my mentors that sort of really elevated the level of complexity this whole business process is. And besides, you don't have the bandwidth to service every single person that comes your way, nor do you want to, because then you get some crazy clients that make you want to jump off a cliff. The truth is you want to be selective with your clients if you're your service provider, because you have a fit of what your clients are and because you teach people how to treat you. And the second set of this is really identifying your value, your purpose. People don't buy into a strategy; they buy into the person behind that strategy, and what your values are. And I see this all the time with a lot of CEOs. They just want to feel comfortable. That's really what it comes down to: is comfortable with the person that they have. That's it.
Yeah. So true. And really in any industry too, though, right? I mean, when I go as a sales guy for my day job, if they don't trust me, it doesn't matter how great the company is at that point. Right. I mean, they have to build that rapport. It's all about the individual. Right. And that, connection. So, any thoughts on that, Angela? I know the question was in response to what you'd said. And now you're going last to respond.
What did I say?
I don't know.
Well, just looping back to what I think the question was, I would add that one of the ways I deal with the "can I buy you a coffee" scenario is actually get involved with an occasional networking group so that I can share knowledge with a group of 20 or 30 people in an informal setting. Most recently, I did that in Toronto. I was at the National Conference of Mompreneur Canada. There were, 200, 250 delegates. And it was an intimate enough conference that I could actually talk with people and get to know them and initiate some conversations with people, some of whom will never be my clients, who I will never work with again. But I was able to offer them some value and some advice. And in return, in some cases, I received good advice. But then out of that pool of people, I maybe met a dozen or so that I will probably work with in a broader way moving forward. So doing that sort of sharing of information in group settings, in a sense, social media camp is there. The size of each of our audience is a social media camp. We're going to share what we know there. And with the live streaming audience that you're adding in this year, which is exciting, who knows how many people are going to be online. I think it's important to continue to give, but I also think that the little snippets that you can give in a 15-minute conversation are never going to be the full package. As Tara said, as Bosco said, there's a plethora of knowledge and experience that we all bring. I mean, just from the earlier conversation, it sounds as though we're all, of that 80s, 90s education. So we've been around for a while. I beg your pardon?
Except for Bosco.
Except for Bosco. I missed that part. So, you can't... You can't give away enough in a short conversation to only. I can't think when you guys make me laugh. Okay, I just lost it on Blab.
Congratulations! It's the first time.
Well, and the other thing I want to also talk about is, I guess we'll call it social age is a way to label this as well. I've never, this always surprises me where when I meet people that I've met 5 years ago or 7 years ago or 3 years ago, they've met me at this particular conference, that basically when they see you again, they just have this moment of like real appreciation. And that's a rewarding feeling on any level, regardless of what their purpose is. And I think that's what social truly is connecting people in the end.
Yeah. So we should probably, in the interest of time, wrap it up. But before we go, for those of you who are listening, what the heck is this? Maybe you're listening to the podcast. Maybe you're on the Blab Live right now. Maybe you're listening to this on the podcast or the YouTube channel. This is a social media camp. We're Canada's largest social media conference here in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, May 5th to 7th this year. And we've been joined with a number of speakers. So number one thing you're looking forward to at social media camp this year, Bosco?
I think the best thing for me last year was connecting with all the other speakers in the audience. My advice to anyone attending the social media conference is, we are not invincible people. Come talk to us. There were so many people that would come and shake my hand and then walk away, or give me a business card and then never follow up. I think that for if you're attending it as an attendee, I challenge you to be social. And for the speakers, I'd love to spend some time just getting to know you guys in the green room, or the dinners, or the networking events. I think I had the best value just connecting with people. So I'm going to challenge both the speakers and the attendees to get social.
Angela, one thing you're looking forward to at social media camp?
The short answer is the hugs. There's a lot of my tribe that's going to be there, and as you mentioned, I haven't been for a couple of years, so awesome! Right back at you, man.
I don't know how to do that. I know how to do claps, but I don't know how to do hugs.
Yeah, Tara, Bosco, we only just met, but there's hugs in your future too.
I like gang signs. That's all I see.
Right
by the way, happy St. Patrick's Day for anyone.
Oh yeah, that's.
Oh
right.
Yes.
And
may the road rise up to greet you.
Tara, what number one thing you're looking forward to, other than the fantastic Victoria weather at social media camp in May?
Number one thing, I'm with Angela in the hugs, but also I haven't been to a camp in a long time, and it's very nostalgic for me, because, as I don't know if you guys know, I was involved in early bar camp movement.
Oh, cool! Yeah.
So it's always near and dear to my heart.
It started out as social media camp. It really is more of a conference, but we've kept a lot in the sense that there's multiple
unconference and things.
Yeah. So it's
Sean will probably
it's a very polished version of a camp. Nonetheless, it's still a lot of fun. And
maybe we can put up some butcher paper on the wall and do a little unconference-y thing.
Well, one of the things actually that I'm kind of, and I won't say it's happening for sure, but I'm hoping that we can sort of throw together, is to have a continual blab, like a 72-hour blab.
Wow.
And have a station at social media camp where anybody can kind of come and put on the headphones and drive the blab. So not sure if it's going to work out or not, but it would be kind of fun to try it. So
we should just have a
Blabathon.
The Blabathon, exactly. So before we all go, just wanted to mention our next scheduled blab, if you can join us live, is 10 a.m. on March 31st. We will be joined by Mitch Jewell, so we're super excited. Also a keynote speaker at Social Media Camp this year. What's that, Tara? Not as cool as Tara, though.
It's okay.
No.
And do find us on YouTube, youtube.com/socialmediacamp, if you're looking for the replay. And also, just to let everybody know, we're going to be opening up the coaching program soon. If you're new to social media, you need some advice, you need some tips, we have a coaching program. You can sign up ahead of time. You can be assigned a coach, and it's going to be and it's a great way to kind of navigate a big conference on social media, so you can get the most value out of it while you're there, and network. So thanks so much, Bosco Anthony, Angela Crocker, Tara Hunt, and the elusive Sean Smith. It's been really great chatting with you all, and we'll see you all May 5th.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Be safe and well.
Take care.